Hello, everybody. Let's begin with the four great vows. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. I vow to cut off endless vexations. I vow to master limitless approaches to Dharma. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood. Welcome. Today's class is going to be presented by me because Gilbert's teaching in Europe, in the UK and in Europe this last weekend and the upcoming week. So we begin today's topic is Prajnaparamita, and specifically Nagarjuna's teachings on Prajnaparamita. And the most of the source material I'm using is a translation of Nagarjuna's work by Bhikshu Dharmamitra from the Chinese, actually. And Bhikshu Dharmamitra is one of the oldest monastics who studied under, or the senior most monastic, not senior most, well, he's been ordained among the earliest under Master Xuanhua, who was the Dharma heir of Master Xu Yun, who brought back Chan Buddhism in the current era. So we go into this, and usually I do all of my reading on Kindle. I highlight, and I don't have something like this that Gilbert usually has. But for this work, I've done what Gilbert usually does, is read, reread, highlight, take notes, and it's that kind of material. But let's begin. And before we start, I want to introduce you to Prajnaparamita, who's on the tapestry behind me. This is Prajnaparamita Devi. Sometimes the Devi used to distinguish that this is the goddess Prajnaparamita, if you will. And even using the word goddess is extraneous. But Prajnaparamita is considered to be the mother of all Buddhas, and she has in one hand the Prajnaparamita scroll, the sutra itself. And on the other, she has a vajra, which is a diamond bolt, the indestructible diamond bolt. And her other two hands are held in the meditation mudra. All right, okay, so let's look into Prajnaparamita. To look at these two words, prajna and paramita. Paramita it means to go beyond. There's two meanings. It means to go beyond, and this is in the metaphor of what we do in Mahayana Buddhism and in Shravakayana Buddhism, where in Shravakayana Buddhism, the practice is to, the Dharma takes you to the other shore from this shore, this worldly life of suffering, to nirvana. In Mahayana, the boat becomes bigger, and the bodhisattva is the one ferrying sentient beings to the other shore. So, so in this analogy, in the big boat analogy of Mahayana, where all beings are delivered by the bodhisattva, where the bodhisattva undertakes the vow to deliver all beings, the paramitas are the going beyond. They are the going to the other shore. The paramitas, the 6 paramitas, constitute the practice of a bodhisattva. This is what the bodhisattva does in in two things. One, in ferrying sentient beings to the other shore, in delivering sentient beings, and in going towards Buddhahood. In both of these, the practice is the 6 paramitas. Of the 6 paramitas, the Prajnaparamita, the practice of wisdom, if you will. I'm going to go into both of these words in just a bit. It is the most important. Why? Because without Prajnaparamita, without this wisdom that takes beyond, the other paramitas only provide worldly benefits, not the benefits of taking to the other shore. So let's look at this word paramita. Paramita has two meanings. One meaning is this meaning of taking to the other shore, and of taking beyond. It's in the Heart Sutra. There's a refrain: "Gate gate para gate parasangate bodhisvaha." So it's it's taking beyond the para, the beyond. That is there in the paramita. So it's the taking. Paramita is what takes you beyond, takes one beyond, takes a non-one beyond, if you will. So so that's paramita. That's one meaning of paramita. Another meaning of paramita is a perfection. That is excellent, that it is a perfecting, if you will. And for both of these, the word transcendence is a good English translation, because it is a transcending of samsara and going beyond samsara, and it's also transcendence of wisdom. Wisdom itself is transcendent. It's most excellent. So so that's paramita. And prajna is usually translated as wisdom. And there are two roots in that Sanskrit word, prajna. Jna, it means just knowing, if you will, just knowing. And it's got the same Indo-European word root as knowledge, which is knowledge is also no, no. That is the same as a jna. It's the same word root. So it's knowing. And pra means two things as well here. Pra means one. It's like primary or first, and in two ways. It is the foremost, the most important. So it's first in importance, it's primary in importance. The most important knowing is prajna. And two, it's also first in time, meaning that it is it's the primordial knowing as well. So so that's prajna. So we're going to look into Prajnaparamita and what Nagarjuna has to say about Prajnaparamita. And he has a lot to say. So we're not going to cover all of it today. We're going to look into some of it today and a little bit more next week. And even that, with those couple of presentations, we're not going to be done with the whole material. So think of it as a taste and an invitation to look into more. So so in this text, it's conveniently presented in a question and answer format. And the question is, hey, what is meant by Prajnaparamita? So the tricky answer is this. The answer is all bodhisattvas from the time of first bringing forth the resolve to realize bodhi. That's enlightenment here, translated. I prefer awakening. Seek to gain the knowledge of all modes. Sarva akara jnata. That's the sarva akara jnata. That's the knowledge of all modes. in the interim period, that wisdom which knows in accordance with reality the true character of dharmas, this is dharmata, is what qualifies as Prajnaparamita. That's a lot of stuff right there. So what I'm so very interesting that what happens in the response is, instead of Nagarjuna replying, say, hey, this is what Prajnaparamita is, he begins by saying that the first term that he introduces is sarva akara jnata, which is a knowledge of all modes. And we later find out that the Buddha is the one who has the knowledge of all modes. So he begins by saying that, who are these bodhisattvas? They are, they have made a resolve to attain bodhi. That's what they are, bodhisattvas. They have made a resolve to awaken. And from that moment, they have been seeking to gain this knowledge of all modes, because that is what makes a Buddha. And that is complete, unsurpassed awakening. Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. With that comes this knowledge of all modes, which can be simply translated as omniscience, knowing everything. So the knowledge of all modes. So that's how he starts his response. He's saying, "Hey, bodhisattvas, this is what they have been seeking. They've been seeking this knowledge of all modes. In the interim period, that wisdom which knows in accordance with reality the true character of dharmas, dharmata, is what qualifies as Prajnaparamita." So in the interim period, bodhisattvas, what the wisdom that they have, that they that they are practicing. Thank you, Ian. That's Prajnaparamita. And what is this wisdom? It's the wisdom that knows in accordance with reality the true character of dharmas. It knows dharmas are phenomena of objects of mental consciousness are the dharmas. And Prajnaparamita is the wisdom that knows the true characteristics of all objects of the mind. Okay, that's Prajnaparamita. So Prajnaparamita is the realm of the bodhisattvas that when fully perfected, becomes sarva akara jnata, or the knowledge of all modes. So Prajnaparamita itself is not a perfection. How come? Right? How come? And that's the second question that that's being raised here. And the answer to that is that, well, the transcendence is the fruit of Prajnaparamita as practice. And therefore, this cause of that fruit is called by that fruit's name. And that's why it's called Paramita, Prajnaparamita. So so very interestingly, this whole thing, it begins by saying that you want to know what Prajnaparamita is, it's best to know where it's ending. And where it's pointed to is Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, the unequaled, unsurpassed awakening of the Buddha. And what is that kind of knowing? That kind of knowing is this knowledge of all modes. Is this sarva akara jnata that could be translated as omniscience. It's not omniscience is one more way of calling it. So omniscience is sarva jnana, but this is sarva akara jnana, means that it's like it's very similar. It's a knowledge of all modes. So there's a further distinction that's being drawn as to what is the difference between a Buddha and a Bodhisattva? What is the difference between the Sarva Akara Jnata and Prajnaparamita? So in saying what that difference is, there's a little bit more of what has the Buddha accomplished? So the Buddha has already cut off all afflictions, klesha, and habitual propensities, vasana, and has purified the eye of wisdom, prajna chakshus. He should therefore have already realized the true character of dharmas in accordance with reality. And the true character of dharmas is just as perceived with Prajnaparamita. The Bodhisattva has not yet exhausted all outflow impurities, ashrava. His eye of wisdom has not yet been purified. Okay, so this is a distinction between the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas. So the Buddha has cut off all afflictions, that's klesha, and habitual propensities, vasana, and purified the eye of wisdom, prajna chakshus, and there are it has exhausted all outflow impurities, ashrava. Let me explain all of these words and what they mean. So the kleshas are greed, hatred, and ignorance. And they may be as strong as hatred or just an aversion. And they may be as strong as greed or just a wanting to get lost in something, a pull to getting lost in something else other than the reality of what is. And it could be ignorance, which is just like wanting to blank out of what is. So these afflictions the Buddha has completely eradicated. Not only do they not arise, so there's no greed, hatred, ignorance, or their mildest counterparts. Not only do they not arise, there are also no habitual propensities, which is vasana. The habitual propensities are what you can think of the habitual propensity as like the seeds that may sprout into weeds. Say for example, you see a dandelion, a little dandelion shoot coming up. That's a klesha. If left untended, that dandelion shoot is going to, it's going to become bigger. It's going to flower and seed, and soon enough, the whole garden is going to be full of dandelions. So in this process, that first little seed, right? That's called. It depending on the lens you're looking at it. A seed is a bija, but as it is ready to sprout, it's a vasana because it is said to perfume, meaning influence what is going to happen. So that's a vasana. And when it has sprouted, it's a klesha because it's already impeding the garden, if you will. So that's a klesha when it is obvious, it's out there, it's klesha. And then when there is an action that is under the influence of a klesha, so when you're acting, even being is acting. When you are under the influence of a klesha, then there are some anything that you do is going to be colored by that klesha. So, therefore, there's an outcome that is unwholesome. So that is the outflow, impurity, that's called ashrava. And that in turn creates new patterns. So this is kind of like so there's the dandelion sprout, and then now, if you just let it be, and you act on under the influence of the klesha, then it's like the dandelion has flowered, and those, there are seeds, and the seeds are flying all over the place. That's the outflow, ashrava. And then that seed lands, right? And now that seed is in the soil. That is called a bija. That's just a seed. And now in the future, that seed can become ripe enough to become a plant. So that becomes a vasana, and the cycle of suffering goes on. The Buddha has completely eradicated this cycle. There are no dandelion seeds or weeds in the Buddha garden, if you will. So that's the Buddha. So what is the difference between the Buddha and the Bodhisattva? Well, the Bodhisattva still has the seeds and seeds in the garden. So it's still, and then there still acts under the influence of kleshas. So, and therefore still has outflows or ashravas, right? So that cycle is still there. So then what is the meaning of then how come the Bodhisattva is practicing Prajnaparamita? So there Nagarjuna says, well, look at it this way. It's like somebody if somebody has entered, like they have seen the ocean, and they have gone in, and they have waded into the ocean, right? So they know the ocean. However, so that's a bodhisattva. The Buddha is somebody who knows the breadth and the depth of the entire ocean. So that's the difference between a bodhisattva and a Buddha. Not bad. At least they've stepped into the ocean. So at least they know the ocean just a little bit. So that's the difference between a bodhisattva and a Buddha. And Nagarjuna gives another example. And I find this example to be even more useful. In this example, he says that it's like, if there's a dark room and somebody brings a little lamp into that room, and that lamp is illuminating all of the material objects, so that one is entirely able to distinguish between them. You can see, oh, here's the chair and here's a table. I can actually, navigate the room without bumping into most anything, right? But then say you bring a lamp that is brighter into the room, right? Then that larger, brighter lamp increases even more the clarity of visible detail, right? When this happens, one realizes that the darkness dispersed by the larger lamp dwelt together in the company of the smaller lamp. Although the prior lamp dwelled together with a measure of darkness, still it was nonetheless also able to illuminate things. Right? So all of a sudden, with a larger lamp, every detail of everything in that room is seen. But there was utility in having that little lamp before. At least you didn't bump into too many things too much, right? So there was that's the difference between the Bodhisattva's wisdom and the Buddha's wisdom. The wisdom of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas is just the same as this. Although the wisdom of the Bodhisattva does coexist with afflictions and habitual propensities, still it is nonetheless able to achieve a realization of the true character of dharmas in just the same manner as that prior smaller lamp was still able to illuminate things. The wisdom of the Buddhas has put an end to all afflictions and habitual propensities, and so has also achieved realization of the true character of dharmas in just the same manner as the later lamp was doubly bright in the degree of its illumination. So that's the difference between the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas. Now, this is a really interesting way of setting the stage by saying that here's Prajnaparamita. It is, it is that it's like the little lamp that illuminates a dark room, but it's not yet sarva akara jnata, the knowledge of all modes. That is the domain, that's the wisdom of the Buddha. Okay, so now the question arises: what is this true character of dharmas? And the true character of which we speak here is beyond refutation. It is eternally abiding, undifferentiated, and not such as anyone can create. So the true characteristic of all phenomena are the what it is that is eternal, meaning permanent. What is it that is undifferentiated and not such as anyone can create? It is uncreated. Okay. So the true character of dharma. So now, remember what the definition was of Prajnaparamita was. The definition of Prajnaparamita is a wisdom that knows the true character of dharmas. Just to simplify that. And what is it that's the true character of dharmas? Of all objects of consciousness. The true character is that it is eternally abiding, means it is eternal, undifferentiated, and uncreated. Those are the true characteristics of all phenomena. So I'm going to pause here and we're going to just do a meditation exercise. Because it's like, how can we apply this in whatever little way? How can we apply this? So, and then we'll go, and then we'll go on. But let's do that first. So in these characteristics that we just talked about, these are the identical characteristics among all dharmas. The identical characteristics among all dharmas are that they are eternally abiding, eternal, undifferentiated, and uncreated. So sit back. And see if your awareness can pervade your entire body. Can it? Just, we're not looking for a verbal answer here. Just see if your awareness can pervade the entire body. So that there is no obstruction to this awareness. That there is no thing that is not identical. Identical how? Eternal. Eternally abiding. Undifferentiated. Uncreated. There is not one thing that's different. It's not eternal. It's not uncreated. Simply discard, see through anything that's different, that is impermanent, that has come to be from causes and conditions. What happens if you see through? What is impermanent? If you see through what is different from something around it. And if you see through what is created or has come to be from causes and conditions. And what about outside your body? Is there something different? What if you see beyond that difference? What if you see through? What if you see through what is impermanent? What if you see through what is different from anything around it? What if you see through what is come to be from causes and conditions? Can awareness penetrate, pass through, permeate the space around you, the objects in the room around you, the walls around you? Can awareness see through all phenomena by recognizing the true characteristics of all phenomena? By only recognizing what is eternal, By seeing through what is impermanent. By only recognizing what is undifferentiated, by seeing through what is different about one thing from another. By only recognizing the uncreated, by seeing through what has come to be from causes and conditions. What about beyond this room? Where does this awareness end if it is not impeded by what is impermanent, if it is not impeded by what is different from something around it, if it is not impeded by what has come to be from causes and conditions? What is this awareness? How much does it extend? Now rest in this awareness, uncontrived, without doing a thing. Okay. And what were your findings? What happened when you contemplated this way? Anybody wants to share? I see some people still meditating. Don't let a question. Don't let a question take you from that. Okay, Ian.
So, what I noticed, what came forward most strongly was actually what happened when the contemplation wasn't working properly. So,
Mm,
anytime there was some type of mental object or noise in the environment, you could feel the awareness sort of harden and shrink. And if
mm-hmm.
it's like a thought, then awareness would just like get tunnel vision, and it would come in, it would come in, and then there would just be a very, very tiny awareness.
Mm-hmm.
When there was then contemplation that, oh, wait, I have seized upon these false characteristics of phenomena, and
Mm-hmm.
they are impermanent. And sure enough, as soon as that contemplation penetrated, the object would become permeable, and awareness would once again begin to expand. Sometimes it would expand slowly, sometimes it would expand rapidly, and then
Mm-hmm.
another occurrence of a seizure of false characteristics.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you so much. And Matt says, exhausting of akusala thoughts. Wonderful. Um, if anybody else wants to say something, not, we'll just keep going. Okay. So furthermore, Nagarjuna is saying, hey, this is what the Buddha said to Shariputra. When the Bodhisattva contemplates all dharmas, they are perceived as neither permanent nor impermanent. It's interesting. It says neither permanent nor impermanent, neither suffering nor blissful, neither self nor non-self, neither existent nor non-existent. So the Bodhisattva contemplates all dharmas as having no substantial characteristics at all. And yet, he still does not actually intentionally have to carry out such a contemplation. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Yet, he still does not actually intentionally have to carry out such a contemplation. So we did an exercise. We contemplated certain, the true characteristics of all phenomena. But now, Nagarjuna is, drawing upon the Buddha's word to clarify further that, we were looking for what is eternally abiding, undifferentiated, and uncreated. However, when the Bodhisattva contemplates phenomena, they are perceived as neither permanent nor impermanent, neither suffering nor blissful, neither self nor non-self, neither existent nor non-existent. So there is the contemplation, there is nothing at all sticky. There's nothing at all akusala. There's nothing at all sticky in the contemplation of the Bodhisattva. And this whole thing is not even an intentional contemplation. So when we ended this exercise, the instruction I gave was to rest uncontrived without doing a thing. So the Bodhisattva is not doing a thing in this contemplation. So there's like no contemplation. Okay. So and then there's another, I'm going to jump ahead a few pages and just to give clarity to this, um, like several pages later, he says, additionally, in his practice of Prajnaparamita, although the Bodhisattva Mahasattva knows the identical characteristics among all dharmas, he is also able to know all of the differing characteristics of all dharmas. So, the true character, what we did our practice on was that the true characteristics is that The dharmas are eternally abiding, undifferentiated, and uncreated. So three true characteristics. Now, all of this point to the same thing, that all phenomena are identical. Now here, there's further clarification in that in the practice of Prajnaparamita, although the Bodhisattva Mahasattva knows the identical characteristics among all dharmas, he's also able to know all of the differing characteristics of all dharmas. Okay? Although he knows all of the differing characteristics of all dharmas, he's also able to know the identical characteristics of all dharmas. It is this class of bodhisattva wisdom which qualifies as Prajnaparamita. So this is really important. It's not just that, oh, everything is empty, right? It's not just that. It's not just everything is empty. It's not just here's how all phenomena are identical. The wisdom, the Prajnaparamita wisdom, is simultaneously able to see the identical characteristics among all phenomena, as well as the differing characteristics of all dharmas. So just an interesting aside that just came up is that this knowing the differing characteristics of all dharmas, this is called as discriminating wisdom. It's one of the five wisdoms of the five the five Buddha. There's a certain what should I say, schematic, if you will, of the five Buddhas with five wisdoms. And this the discriminating wisdom is a wisdom that is aware of the differing characteristics of all dharmas. And this is attributed to Buddha Amitabha, who's the Buddha of compassion. So compassion requires the ability to see the differing characteristics of all dharmas. Therefore, the Prajnaparamita is intimately connected with compassion, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. But the differing characteristics of all dharmas is the means by which the Buddha caters teachings to the specific needs of the sentient being that requires the teaching. So Prajnaparamita is the two. It's like both sides of the coin are there. Both sides of the coin are knowing the identical characteristics of all dharmas and knowing the differing characteristics of all dharmas. So when we did our meditation, we just looked at the same identical characteristics of all phenomena. Now, if you were to be simultaneously aware of the differing and the identical characteristics of all phenomena, that is the fruit of silent illumination. If you look at the description of the fruit of silent illumination, it is the simultaneous the simultaneous awareness of both the identical and the differing. So furthermore, what Nagarjuna says, so this is what is meant by the Bodhisattva's practice of Prajnaparamita. The meaning of this is such that it involves the relinquishing of all intentionally initiated contemplations, the extinguishing of the utility of any words or speech, and the transcendence of all actions undertaken by the mind. So the method of no method is truly, yeah, that's a fruition, if you will, of silent illumination. So, but when you're practicing silent illumination, you're efforting at keeping, keeping from getting stuck to the phenomena that come up, right? So, but here, Prajnaparamita is a relinquishing of all intentionally initiated contemplations, the extinguishing of any words or speech, and the transcendence of all actions undertaken by the mind. From its very origin on up until the present, it has been neither produced nor destroyed, and has been characterized by being like nirvana. The character of each and every Dharma is precisely thus. Oh, beautiful. From its very origin on, up until the present, it has been neither produced nor destroyed, and has been characterized by being like nirvana. The character of each and every Dharma is precisely thus. This is what is meant by the true character of Dharmas. All right. So, why don't we meditate on that one sentence? So, whatever comes up, right? Whatever comes up, we'll do two contemplations, right? One, we're going to do this one first, and then we'll do the contemplation of no contemplation. Or maybe I'll end with the contemplation of no contemplation, because it is especially challenging to do a contemplation of no contemplation when there's a um, lot of addition sticking to stuff already happening. So let's try to clear things up a little bit, and then we'll end with a contemplation of no contemplation. So the contemplation here of doing something is that whatever comes up, recognize it as neither produced nor destroyed, and it has always been characterized by being like nirvana, not produced nor destroyed, like nirvana. And from its very origin up until the present. So, never been produced, never been destroyed, has always been like nirvana. Never produced, never destroyed, has always been like nirvana. never produced, never destroyed, always been like nirvana. And now drop all doing, nothing to do, nowhere to go. And if something happens, drop it. Drop the trying to correct. Drop the getting pulled. Wait, no doing. And drop the no doing, doing, the doing of no doing as well. What is it like to keep dropping the doing? What is it like to drop doing, the non-doing? Reports from the field. Matt.
First thing that came to mind for me was love.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I guess you can correlate it with meta, if you
Okay.
will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But just love and things that came with that, maybe sensations and stuff. I guess so and then obviously trying to drop those, it's a little hard for me. I still have a lot of attachments to nostalgia and
Mm-hmm.
family and whatnot. But
Mm-hmm.
feeling into those vibrations, um, kind of more or less pulling me more centered, and then trying to, you know, focus more so on the awareness of
Mm-hmm.
my silent meditation. So always kind of redirecting the mind.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So in the beginning, it is the something comes up and getting stuck. and then dissolving, stuck, dissolving, and then dropping of more effort and more effort and more effort. It's an unflowering, it's an undoing,
Mm.
you know. But it almost there's a requirement, there's almost an entry level ticket that's needed.
Mm.
So that you're not like fully lost in something. So but what you were talking about, where it's like, oh, you're getting caught up in something and then like letting go, and then getting caught up and letting go, and then reduce the efforting a little bit
Mm.
and see what happens. And it's almost like a dropping away
Mm.
of what happens when that efforting is reduced, and a little bit more and a little bit more. What happens then?
Stages, your stages of samadhi can go a little deeper. Meditation, concentration. I mean, not to grasp,
It is
not to
beyond
be,
samadhi. It's beyond
yeah.
samadhi. It's not
Mm.
just samadhi. Samadhi is a part of it.
Mm.
But just try it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Thank you.
Anybody else? Hi, Ian.
So for me, the first thing that came up was my cat. I'm sitting on the floor, so she crawls in my lap, and then she starts butting my arms around. I put them on my knees, and then she knocks them on the floor. So I have to pet the cat, and I'm trying to remember that this is the neither produced nor unproduced. This is originally the nature of nirvana, and eventually she settles down, and I'm just sort of enjoying that experience and feeling just very, very big and peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were saying, now just drop doing everything. So it's okay. I'm not doing all the big feelings. I'm not doing the looking at this or looking at that. And then when you came to the very end, dropping off, like not doing the not doing or doing the not doing, whatever it was. And I followed that instruction, and it was like, wow, this is kind of amazing. You literally can't do it wrong. Um,
Wow.
that
Thank
that
you.
was the impression that I had.
Yeah. So in Dzogchen, there's a Dzogchen practice. This is non-doing. So even though in Chan we have Wu Wei, in Chan we have a practice of, a method of no method. There's a Dzogchen method where this really shines of just don't do anything. Just drop that. Drop the doing. Drop the doing. Drop the doing. It is really frustrating, especially for beginning meditators, because dropping the doing means like junk, So there's a certain amount of wisdom that's needed to enter this practice of non-doing. But looks like your cat wanted a piece of your practice, Ian. Yeah, that she, like, is it she or he? There, yeah. Your cat knew something was happening, and yeah, don't don't do this without me. She goes like that. All right. Anybody else? Okay. So I'll just read a couple more things here. So Nagarjuna has a verse in praise of Prajnaparamita, and he says, the Prajnaparamita is a Dharma conveying reality not an inverted view. Conceptual contemplations have been dispensed with. The dharma of words and speech has been extinguished as well. An incalculable number of offenses, kleshas, have been gotten rid of. The pure mind is constantly unified. That's samadhi or ekagata. If one is such a venerable and marvelous person, then one is able to perceive prajna. Like empty space, it is devoid of stains. It is free of frivolousness and it involves no words. If one is able to contemplate in this manner, this is identical to seeing the Buddha. If in accord with Dharma, one contemplates the Buddha and Prajna and Nirvana, these three are found to be singular in characteristic. In their reality, there is no difference. The Buddhas, as well as the Bodhisattvas, are able to bring benefit to all. Prajna serves as a mother to them. It is able to give birth to and raise them. So that's Prajnaparamita. So that's Nagarjuna on Prajnaparamita. And we barely dipped our feet into the ocean. That's this teaching. So I have one more thing. I think I'm because I've been giving time for feedback in the middle. I'm going to read a little bit of something else to you as well. This is from hold on just a sec. This is from Kamala Sheila, who was a teacher in the Nalanda University, and from his work called Bhavana Krama, because I was really curious about this term, Sarva Akara Jnata. It's like, hey, you can't just drop a word like that, Nagarjuna, and not like give us more, right? So I wanted to know more about this word. With the omniscience, of course, omniscience is widely used, but this particular word, I wanted to get into it a little bit more, and I found more on it in this work, Bhavana Krama by Kamala Sheila. And he says, so persons desiring of attaining sarvajñata, that's this omniscience, as early as possible, must endeavor to practice the causes and the factors that help achieve it. Okay, and what are the causes and factors, the hetu pratyaya? What are the causes and factors for attaining the fruit of sarvajñata? So he says that this is what the Buddha said. The Lord said unto them, to the people, "Oh, Guhyadipati," the Buddha is addressing the Lord or the King of the Guhas. That jnana of sarvajñata has compassion, karuna, as its root. Bodhicitta as hetu or its cause, and upayaya, practice or effort, as its end. Okay. Hence, those desirous of attaining sarvajñata should get educated in these three: compassion, bodhicitta, bodhi mind, and effort. Inspired by compassion, the bodhisattvas will certainly undertake the vow to ameliorate the lot of all sentient beings. Then, giving up selfish thoughts, they respectfully engage themselves in the collection of extremely difficult jnana and punya. Jnana here is knowing, but it's wisdom as well. And punya is merit. Through a ceaseless and long period of sadhana or practice. Entering that sadhana, they are bound to realize that accumulation of punya and jnana collections, they're bound to accumulate. They're bound to, grow wisdom. And merit here actually means like offering to sentient beings. It's not just the merit that you get. The punya is not just the merit that you get, though it's often translated as that in English. In Indian languages, punya means just being more like being generous, the practice of offering. So that's grown when sambharas are completed. When that accumulation is complete, sarvajñata will be at hand. So basically, this is a complete cultivation. So the compassion is at its root, bodhicitta is the cause, and practice or effort is the end of it. And therefore, compassion being the root of sarvajñata, it should be meditated upon from the very beginning. As has been said in Arya Dharma Sangiti, O sir, the bodhisattvas should not seek instruction in many dharmas. Sir, if a bodhisattva adopts and realizes one single dharma, all other Buddha dharmas will be in the palm of his hand. What is that one dharma? It is Mahakaruna, or great compassion. Okay? Owing to their acceptance of Mahakaruna, the Buddhas stay on till the end of even the world, in spite of their having attained all the wealth of punya, or merit for themselves. They do not even enter the supremely peaceful city of Nirvana as Dasashravaka, on seeing sentient beings in the midst of their sufferings. And because of their abandoning of that peaceful nirvana mansion like a lake house in flames, the Lord's cause for their unaccepted nirvana is that very Mahakaruna alone. Okay, so great compassion is at the root of. Great compassion is the mother of Sarvajñata. And Prajnaparamita is the mother of Buddhas. So great compassion will give rise to Prajnaparamita, because Kamala Shila is saying that, hey, that's from the very beginning of your path. If you had to do one thing, let it be. If you had one practice, let it be Mahakaruna. Let it be great compassion. So with that, we'll end the class, and maybe if you have any questions or comments, you're very welcome. Harry.
Yeah, hi. It was a wonderful talk, Sentha. Really, that dropping of everything is quite something. Really lets you see awareness itself, right? Without anything adorning it. But I had a question about omniscience, because it's a funny word. I mean, people can say it, but what does it really mean? So it doesn't mean that the Buddha knows, your dog's name, for example, or but there's a story where the Buddha was asked if he was omniscient, and he said, "Yes, I am omniscient because I know one thing about everything, which is that nothing is worth holding on to." So I don't know what you think.
Well, so omniscience here is unimpeded knowing. So why is it unimpeded? Because the true characteristics of Dharma are perceived. So there is both the identical and the non-identical characteristics are perceived. So there's both discriminating wisdom as well as the as well. You know, the five wisdoms, Harry, all of those five wisdoms are present.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's interesting because we're sort of caught up in data and information. That's why people, when you use the word omniscient, that's the first thing you go to, which is
Yeah.
really what it's not about.
Yeah, so I have a bag of I don't know, rice. Do you want
How
to tell
many
me how
grains?
many there are in
Yes, 6,000.
it?
But
Could be wrong, right?
what I find helpful with the absolute, where the mind is not arising, and also the understanding of differentiation, is that thing from Dogen where the moon reflected in the water. That's
Mm-hmm.
the moon and the water are not the same thing, but the moon doesn't get wet and the water isn't disturbed by the moon being inside of it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
that, it's a wonderful image for sort of
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
conveying that.
And the chant poems are full of them. Hongzhe's, many of Hongzhe's work also is very illustrative of this.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? All right. Join palms and bow. May the benefits of this practice reach all beings everywhere. Good night.